I remember this chap from Detroit Become Human. It's funny because I tried streaming it once and it didn't work. Ow.
Alright, so a week ago I told you guys I was going to make a video game in 2 weeks and 2 days, and everyone said, "How are you, idiot? That would never work." And you're right. I figured I'd take this juncture to share my progress. I made some. First, I designed the background for the battle sequence. After I finish this project, I might go back to it and change it around so that the defendant and plaintiff's appearances change at random between cases. But honestly, who gives a single one in this human life in which we live like tonight? I think it looks okay. I think I'm the only person on the entirety of planet Earth who thinks it looks okay, but who cares? It's my game, not theirs. Shut face.
Looks fine. It'll do. Because we're not really trying.
Anyway, once that was done, the first step was to actually, code something. Unfortunately, making the background took up most of the first stream's time, so all I had time for was making sure the progress bar actually worked. So every time I pressed the return key, it moved forward through the case, between red, amber, green, and then back to red if the case runs on too long.
Maybe increase the margin that it moves a little bit more, because this is taking an eternity.
That's when I left the first stream because I was tired. The next day I decided to do something reckless and impulsive by streaming too many times in one day and burning myself out quick fast.
Yeah, am I making this overcomplicated? Probably.
Next, I figured I should set up the turn system. I started by designing a little pointer hand that appears over whoever's turn it is at any given time. And yeah, it's not very good, but I'm not an artist. Get off my case, chief.
This is going to be a really kind of basic 8-bit looking pointer, you know what I mean? Like one of those stupid pointer hands. That's not right either.
Once I'd done that, I transplanted it into Unity and had its position change whenever someone pressed the enter key to point out whose turn it is. I also coughed a lot. Once that was done, I added some tiny splash text at the bottom in a little status bar so that you always knew whose turn it was. It worked on its first go round, because it was the easiest thing in the game to code. This is when it gets interesting. What needed to be coded next was the attack menu for the judge, so when the game rolls around to the judge's turn, they can select an attack, select a target, and then execute the attack all in one smooth user interface. I'm not good at designing user interfaces, and I never will be. This is what I came up with. At first I used a pointer finger for the turn pointer to indicate which move was currently being selected, but decided to swap it out in the long run for just recoloring the text. I figured the alternative was a bit too discordant. Between streams, I changed the highlighter and changed the format of the game a little bit in this respect. Instead of that big bar being an audience interest measure, it measures how far progressed through the case you are. If it finishes before long enough, then the networks get irate because, I don't know, advertising or something. If it runs long, it's also a problem. Instead, audience interest is measured over time, and if it gets to 0, the case is lost straight up. That, I hope, will incentivize the player to do dangerous stuff, which could end the case prematurely because the alternative is the player losing when the audience tunes out. The issue, of course, is making the game into something other than a catch-22, because obviously I don't want them to lose, no matter what. I then got to work coding the attacks. I threw together a garbage targeting reticule using canvas groups, which in this project are the saviour of my life, and attached them to the 2 players. Then I ran into trouble.
This is when it gets spaghetti code-ish.
The targeting reticules worked fine. The selector worked fine if it did have a few hiccups highlighting 2 selections at once if you're on a different turn. In fact, the damage even worked fine. Where I ran into trouble was the health bars. See, the thing about Unity is that it doesn't like letting you scale objects in one direction. That is to say, I want the health bar to drain like this, right? I do damage, and red bar appears from one side. Instead, because the complete size of the red damage bar is the same as the health bar itself, I have to have the entire image scale from this side. The problem is Unity scales it from the middle, so I not only have to increase the size of the object in code, but I also have to change its position over time to make sure it still fits, which takes some mathematics I don't even understand to make work. And frankly, it's still buggy as hell, but it works just about for now. I need to optimize it a bit really, it's a colossal mess. And then the stream crashed.
Plaintiff bar. Size delta .y.
I rebooted it, but I just decided I'd fix it next go round. And I did. Ish. I was very tired in this last stream and wasn't massively sociable, so I probably shouldn't have done this one. But I did it so that you don't have to. I mean, you also didn't have to anyway. This was my project. That statement literally didn't mean anything. Anyway, I fixed it with a few hiccups. A lot of hiccups. It still doesn't work sometimes. I'm working on it. I'm sorry. Please don't beat me up. So that was the most recent stream. Since then, I've been trying to do real life things and edit together the videos for this week. So that's it. Go home.